Welcome to episode 1 of my new series, Lost Pins. We're going to cover canceled and forgotten or lost, prototype or unmade pinball machines. There's all kinds of channels on YouTube doing retrospectives on unmade Nintendo games, unmade Genesis games, games that were forgotten, games that were lost, but what about pinball games? Well, that's what episode 1 is going to be all about. What happened to some pinball games that you should know about or would want to play? I definitely would want to play some of these, especially number 1. Philip Kindred Dick, December 16, 1928 to March 2, 1982, was an American writer, known for his work in science fiction and easily one of the most influential science fiction writers ever to put pen to paper. Dick's high-concept stories and distinctive voice profoundly shaped the genre in the 20th century and earned him a legion of hardcore fans the world over. His stories have inspired a lot of great, and some not so great, sci-fi movies and TV series over the years, from Blade Runner to Total Recall and beyond. Here is a rare interview from 1977 with the man himself talking about, well, being in the Matrix. We all live in the Matrix. These are his genuine, true thoughts. Watch this.
It's okay. It's okay.
The subject of this speech is a topic which has been discovered recently and which may not exist at all. I may be talking about something that does not exist. Therefore, I'm free to say everything or nothing. I, in my stories and novels, often write about counterfeit worlds, semi-real worlds, as well as deranged private worlds, inhabited often by just one person, while meantime the other characters either remain in their own worlds throughout or are somehow drawn into one of the peculiar ones. This theme occurs in the corpus of my 27 years of writing. At no time did I have a theoretical or conscious explanation for my preoccupation with these pluriform pseudo-worlds, but now I think I understand. What I was sensing was the manifold of partially actualized realities lying tangent to what evidently is the most actualized one, the one which the majority of us, by consensus gentium, agree on. Later that day, back home again, but still deeply under the influence of the sodium pentothal, I had a short, acute flash of recovered memory. Then, in mid-March, a month later, the total body of memories, intact and entire, began to return. You are free to believe me or to disbelieve, but please take my word on it that I am not joking. This is very serious, a matter of importance. At that time, I had no idea what I was seeing. It resembled nothing that I had ever heard described. It resembled plasmic energy. It had colors. It moved fast. It collected and then dispersed. But what it was, what he was, I am not sure even now. In other words, it's a common theme in my writing that a dark-haired girl shows up at the door of the protagonist and tells him that his world is delusional, that there's something false about it. Well, this did finally happen to me. I even knew that her hair would be black. I had an actual complete sense of what she would look like and what she would say. She did appear, she was a total stranger, and she did inform me of this fact, that some of my fictional works were in a literal sense true. I wrote out these dreams in novel after novel, story after story. To name two in which this prior ugly present obtained most clearly, I cite The Man in the High Castle and my 1974 novel about the U.S. as a police state, called Flow My Tears, the Policeman Said. I'm going to be very candid with you. I wrote both novels based on fragmentary residual memories of such a horrid slave state world. People claim to remember past lives. I claim to remember a different, very different present life. I know of no one who has ever made this claim before, but I rather suspect that my experience is not unique. What perhaps is unique is the fact that I am willing to talk about it. We are living in a computer-programmed reality And the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.
In that interview, he mentioned two specific stories that he felt came from a real place, a possible altered timeline that he had memories of. The first one was The Man in the High Castle, and the second was Flow My Tears, the Policeman Said. The story follows a genetically enhanced pop singer and television star who wakes up in a world where he has never existed. The novel is set in a futuristic dystopia where the United States has become a police state in the aftermath of a second civil war. It was nominated for a Nebula Award in 1974 and a Hugo Award in 1975, and was awarded the John W. Campbell Memorial Award for Best Science Fiction Novel in 1975. The other story is The Man in the High Castle, which proposes a world in which the Nazis have taken over and won World War II and live in America, now run America, there is no more America, is a series right now on Amazon that you could watch. It's really actually pretty good. I've watched the first 4 or 5 episodes. I have not gotten through the whole thing yet. I've just been too busy. I do plan on watching The Man in the High Castle all the way through, and I will let you know my thoughts on that when I get to it. Therefore, no more spoilers or talk about those two things, because what we're here to do today is talk about Total Recall, the pinball machine. Total Recall is a 1990 American sci-fi action film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, directed by Paul Verhoeven. It's got Sharon Stone, it's got Ronnie Cox, it's got a couple other great actors in it. It's got the guy with 6 kids. It's got Guato. Open your mind to me.
Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind.
It's one of my favorite films of all time, and it's loosely based on We Can Remember It For You Wholesale. The film tells the story of a construction worker who suddenly finds himself embroiled in espionage on Mars and unable to determine if the experiences are real or the result of memory implants. A Total Recall video game was made based on the film, featuring 2D action platformer scenes and top-down racing scenes. A version was released for popular 8-bit home computers Commodore 64, the ZX Spectrum, or the ZX Spectrum if you're the top hat gaming man, and the Amstrad CPC, and popular 16-bit home computers, the Amiga and the Atari ST. The game was developed and released by Ocean Software. Unfortunately, I owned the NES port. The NES version was notably different from the others, being developed by a different team, Interplay, who were subcontracted by Acclaim Entertainment. Interplay defended the changes, however, claiming that their alterations stuck closer to the spirit of the original story, which they said read more like a platformer. In a tie-in with the NES game, the August 1990 issue of Nintendo Power promoted the game for their well-known monthly mail-in contest, with the recall slogan of "Making the Impossible Possible," whereby first prize would be one of the Martian police uniforms, along with a videotape trip to Hollywood and a chance to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger. Years later, the magazine admitted it was their worst promotion of all time, as the winner did not even get to meet Schwarzenegger until late 1991, a year or so or more after the film had come out, and only then for a handshake, basically. See ya, kid. Thanks. This brings us to the pinball machine. Unreleased in 1990, this Data East prototype, Data East is now the company Stern and was run by Gary Stern at the time, was a pinball table based on the Total Recall movie. Apparently, the Total Recall rare prototype never made it into production. Stern, however, did go on to say, designed to be a dual-player team effort machine, it was ultimately scrapped for production and sent to the depths of the Data East factory sometime between 1996 and 2000. The machine mysteriously disappeared. Some say it went into the trash, some say it was broken down and scrapped and forgotten completely. Some say the machine made its way to parts unknown, and that anyone who sees it in person is sworn to secrecy. No one knows for sure, and if they do, they're not talking. Had Total Recall been produced as designed, it would remain today one of the most ridiculous pinball machines ever created. It was not meant to be, and will likely never be seen by the public again. I think it looks amazing. It's kind of an A-frame shape with or a V, and you and a buddy would tag team this sumbitch and possibly fight with pinballs back and forth, or at least trade balls around the top area. I think it looks cool. There are head-to-head machines. Joust is one. There's a football, I believe. There's another company that just came out with one that's, and I totally is blowing the top of my head. The name has fallen and gone through the stratosphere. I can't remember the name of it. Dragon something, Demon something. It's a two-head. I'll find footage and we'll stick it in here. Either way, how cool. Total Recall almost had a pinball machine. They had the glass worked up. They had some designs for it. It's got Sharon Stone on the back glass. I would have loved to have seen one of these and played one of these, even if it is the clunkiest, biggest, most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. Thanks for watching. Come back anytime. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of this pinball machine. Would you like to own one of these in your collection? Would you like to take two pinball machines and make them hump into one giant pinball machine to build your own Total Recall machine? Let me know. Thanks.
Sie hat der Party Richter!